Oh, pour me a glass where the cattle drive past,
where the distiller still grows their own grain,
made on top of Boot Hill in a copper pot still.
and the whiskey's as smooth as their name.
Oh, it's home on the range, and we're drinking Kansas whiskey.
Cheers, y'all. Everyone to the Noble Dram. Tonight, we got a special one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. So we've mentioned in the past that both Aaron and I grew up kind of in the Midwest-ish area, right? Middle of the country. Me in Oklahoma, this guy in Kansas.
The great state of Kansas.
The great state of Kansas.
So I think that's what they call
it. Just so that everyone out there can get to know us a little better, we're going to start alumni episode right here tonight.
I'm excited. So this means we get to go K-State and more importantly, Kansas in general. And so I got to pick a distillery.
That's right.
So I selected a group called Boot Hill Distillery out of Dodge City, Kansas, and reached out to the guys because unfortunately, Kansas whiskey in Texas is harder to come by than I had hoped. And they were nice enough to send us a handful of bottles and agree to be on the episode with us here tonight. So I want to introduce both Hayes Kelman and Lee Griffith from Boot Hill Distillery. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing this evening?
Doing great.
Doing great. Great to be with you.
Thanks for having us.
All right. So one of the problems we have every time we do one of these is we start with no whiskey in our glass. So I'm going to start us off here with a couple glasses. First pour of the night, we're going to try make sure I get all my notes and don't miss anything here. This is the straight wheat whiskey, clocking in at 100 proof, 50% AVB for the metric people in this world. Oh man, I got it all over the counter.
Look at you. Hold on. Let me get some of this. So if you don't know, any whiskey spilt becomes
cologne.
Cool.
It works great till the cop pulls him over on the way home tonight.
unless it's a female, then
it might help then. All right, guys, I want to start off talking just a second before we get into the distillery and its history. Tell us some of the specs on this, because this is not, we have to be very careful about this. This is not a wheated bourbon. This is a 100% wheat whiskey. So before we get way down the rabbit hole, why straight wheat whiskey?
Main reason, Kansas. What's Kansas known for? And we're the breadbasket.
And pretty ladies. But I mean,
pretty ladies. There you go. Exactly.
They go well with whiskey, but you can't make whiskey out of them. So for those who don't know, I grew up in Western Kansas, actually not too far down the road. I say that everything in Kansas is pretty far apart. So when you say not far, it's still an hour plus drive.
What's your hometown?
I grew up in a small town called Hayes, Kansas.
Wait,
right up the road.
Like Hayes?
No, spelled differently.
Spelled a little different. They spelled
differently.
Yeah.
They spelled that one. All right.
But these guys are in Dodge City, Kansas.
Get out of Dodge.
The classic reference for Dodge City, right?
Yeah.
So, guys,
I'm sure you get it all the time.
Never heard that one.
Never heard that one.
So, for those who aren't familiar with Dodge City is known for being the Wild West, the world of the saloons, Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, all that stuff. Let's talk about why you guys decided to bring a distillery back to Dodge City. Because when you guys did this, there was nobody making spirits anywhere close to there, right?
Not even hardly. There was a couple distilleries in Kansas. Well, there was, one of the big distilleries, MGP, in Kansas there, making vodka and gin primarily. Other than that, there was, when we started this, maybe 2 or 3 other distilleries. I can't even remember, but
No more than that.
very few, especially west of Kansas City. There were basically none. So really it came from a wanting to do more, wanting to vertically integrate the farm. So I'm a 5th generation farmer. We grow corn and wheat on the farm. We've been doing it for generations, obviously. When I was looking at coming back and being a farmer, I said, that's not going to keep me busy enough. I need to find something else to do. And, that was an interesting thought for a young guy without a family that I needed to be busier. But
that sounds like the attitude of a young man. Like, I just need more, right?
Yes. Yeah. Hindsight, I don't know that I need more, but happy to do it. Yeah. We kind of figured it out, and there's no going back now. So, I wanted to vertically integrate our farm, figure out a way that we could do more with the grains, not just sell it into the commodity market and be done. Now we get to take care of our corn and our wheat from the moment we put the seed in the soil until the moment that you take your first sip. Soil to sip is our kind of trademark slogan that we follow. And we follow it very strictly. I mean, it's everything that we distill is grain grown on our farm.
Yeah, if we can't grow it, we don't make it.
Yeah, that was one of the things when kind of doing a little digging. And I don't want to steal thunder from where the other bottles that are sitting on the table are, but there's some things about the whiskey that you normally see in others, i.e. malted barley, that doesn't exist. And so my first question was, as a kid who grew up in farming country, is that primarily because barley just doesn't grow well in kind of the dry Texas or dry Kansas heat? Or was it more malting related with no other distilleries in the area? I'm assuming finding a malter anywhere close to Dodge City is tough.
Correct. Yeah, the nearest malt house is 6-7 hour drive one way. And so that was a decision we had to make as, do we want to, the inefficiencies of trucking our grain? If we're 100% our grain, then do we really want to truck it 6 hours one direction, leave it there for the time it takes to malt, and then send the truck back out, pick it up? Just didn't seem that efficient. So we use liquid amylase, and then we were able to use 100% of our own grain. We do grow barley. We grow a little bit of barley, a little bit of rye, and you can actually malt wheat for that matter too. So someday, it's a dream, we will build our own malt house and make our own Kansas single malt whiskey, or make some other products with malt. Not sure when, but that's down the road.
It sounds like a business opportunity for some entrepreneur in the Dodge City area to start malting grains for you guys.
That'd be even better. I'd love for somebody else to do it.
Or if you want to design and build a malting house.
Just a rotisserie malter in the back patio. Just
let us know.
Do that too. I have a couple sketches drawn up that I've come up with, but I don't know how, I'm sure somebody has.
Well, let's talk later.
So, but to the notion of kind of having to build everything, right? Not having an infrastructure you guys could take over. Let's talk about the building to start with, because I think that the story of the building, where it is and how it ties to the community, I think is really, really cool.
Yeah, Lee's our local historian. I'm gonna let him jump in.
Well, so we're coming to you today from, this looks like just a brick wall behind us. We're coming to you today from the old city jail. The building that Hayes basically purchased and rehabilitated was City Hall. This was the city municipal building. So it was purposely designed and built to hold all the city services under one roof. It was completed in 1920, construction started in 1927 and it was completed in 1929. So it was built as anything that had to do with the city at that time. So the police department, the fire department, the city clerk's office, city jail, which is where we are right now, city courtroom, and the clerk's office were all housed in this building. And it remained a city building, well, basically clear up until he bought it in 2014, but it had not been used for nearly, 15 years prior. So the city owned it, but it was basically vacant and unused and unoccupied. And so, at that point, what happens to a building when it sits? Well, it starts to kind of deteriorate. And, this is just as much of a story of taking, repurposing an old building as opposed to tearing it down and turning it into something else. Much like we're using our own grain and turning it into something else, this is repurposing a building and doing so. So this, it's our home base. It's our base of operations. It's a historic building, and so we're basically forced to, the building is the building. We have to use within the confines of what it is. We can't expand. There's no room to expand anywhere around here, so we kind of have to use the space that we have and use it as best as possible. So we're distilling in the old firehouse. The distilling operation is where the fire department used to be, where the fire trucks used to be parked. Our bottling operation is also in that same space. And then the rest of the building is devoted towards front of house, tasting room, public spaces, our offices, and areas that can try to generate other money. So this room we rent out for meetings and things like that. But it's also sort of where if we want to feel important about ourselves, we'll have our meetings in here and do podcasts. So. But if I can go back just a little bit of where the namesake comes from, we're Boot Hill Distillery. Well, the building was built on the original Boot Hill Cemetery location, dating back to the 1870s, and so there's a lot of history underneath our feet right now. Dodge City was known as this Wild West violent outpost, and it was a hard drinking town, and so in many cases. We're sort of paying homage to that history of making spirits, where spirits were once laid to rest, I guess. But also, like I said, this was a town that had a reputation for being a raucous and wild place to be at one time, and so we're sort of caretakers of that history as well.
But you guys have built a facility that isn't just a distillery, right? Like I know, most distilleries have some level of a tasting room and stuff, but you guys have gone kind of beyond that and kind of made it a community space as well, right? I apologize. I have not lived in Hayes in a long time. I had moved long before you guys started this, so I haven't had a chance to come by the distillery, but I have to put it on my list for next time.
That's completely fair. I think if there's anything that I'm most proud of what Hayes has built here, and what we've been a part of, what I've had a chance to be a part of, and is the fact that yes, this building was about ready to be torn down. It was about ready to be turned into a parking lot, and we have now taken something that was dilapidated, that was full of pigeons and water leaks and broken out windows. It was urban blight, slum and blight, and we've turned it into a destination. And it's a place that, not only, we get a lot of people that are passing through. This is obviously Dodge City is a tourist destination because of the name of Dodge City. And we see a lot of people that are passing through, but this is also a local watering hole as well. And, we see our tourists in the early afternoon as they're passing through. And then we get our locals of the evening that are coming into our tasting room to have our, try our craft cocktail menu. And so, yes, we've absolutely turned this into a destination location of a place that can be enjoyed. And that is also celebrates the history that's around here on this area. We're right off the downtown area. Just to the south of us is where the Boot Hill Museum is. And, we're kind of seeing a resurgence of interest in building and investment in our downtown community. And I'd like to say that we're a big part of that. And a big reason that it happened to begin with.
So I want to make sure you ask this question because this is a good one, and I felt bad that it wasn't one I wrote down.
So as most people see whiskey in the glass, right? But I think you see fields and weather and farming and months of uncertainty sometimes, right? Or even years when it comes to the whiskey. Has making whiskey changed how you look at risk when it comes to farming and whiskey all in general?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, so it's such a long-term play, right? So it's pretty scary when we take whiskey and especially in the early days, and you can see we see it every day when we look at our barrel aging sheets and we're trying to pick out a new, couple of barrels for another blend of something or other. We were pretty careful early on. We were really wanting to get things right. It took us. When did we finally start putting bottles or barrels of bourbon away? We didn't love the way that our bourbon tasted early on, just the new make bourbon, for about a year or two, maybe.
A little over a year.
A little over a year, and then finally it was okay. I think we're happy with this. We threw a lot of good whiskey away, just because we weren't too happy with it, and so even still, then you're putting this fresh whiskey. You have no clue. I always tell people this kind of in this question, but I guess I'm getting a little bit ways out. But the way we learned how to make whiskey was we didn't hire anybody to come tell us how to make whiskey. We didn't say come in and bring in a head distiller of XYZ distillery to teach us how to make whiskey, because you know what kind of whiskey they're going to teach us how to make. If they work
Their whiskey.
Their whiskey. And so I kind of laugh, and I say this with a little bit of a joke, but I feel like someday some master distiller is going to come in here and say, like, really, that's how you guys do this? You're making whiskey wrong, because we said we're going to do it our way. We're going to figure it out. We read some books. I went to a couple other distilleries and learned kind of their processes, and then I said, the farmer mentality: give me a problem, I'll solve it. And we made some whiskey that. Over and over, we learned, got better and better. And once we were finally happy with it, we started putting it in barrels. And then it was another thing of, okay, well, let's sit and wait, and get 3 years time, let's try it. And then another year. And so, yes, the way you look at risk when you're talking about what's going to happen, and we still don't know, some of our oldest whiskeys out there, this is the first time they've ever reached whatever age they are. And, it's
some of them we haven't even tried.
We have some of our oldest barrels we've never even tried, because I think I'm too scared to try them, to tell you the truth.
So talking about risk, Hayes, forgive me. Did you graduate from Kansas State in 2015?
2015, yeah.
2015, and you bought the property in 2014.
Correct.
Is that what I heard? And then the brand really launched in 2016 timeframe?
More or less, yeah.
Okay, more or less. So as somebody that is still in school, still in college, buying a property like what you're currently setting in, how did you get to that point to be able to be like, because you have an agricultural business degree, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Right. So you went through that major in school to then look at, oh, hey, there's this opportunity of buying this building. So we're going to buy and purchase the building. Then I'm going to graduate college, but I'm going to start a whiskey brand. Like, that is mind blowing to me. And I'd love to hear kind of your take on that. And the reason why I tied that into the risk, because that is a huge gamble, right? I mean,
it sounds insane when you spell it out. You're like, yeah, a year before I graduated from college, I decided to start a distillery. And I'm like, oh, did you come from a family that did a lot of whiskey making? Like, no, I bought a book to figure out how to do it. Like, everything about this seems a little crazy.
Seems a little crazy. I agree.
Which is awesome to see it work, right? Like that. Nothing makes your heart swell more than seeing somebody take a big long shot, right, and hit the home run, so to speak. Yeah. So, like, how do you decide to pull that trigger?
I mean, the probably less glamorous explanation of it is, I was too dumb to know any better, and too stubborn more than anything. I'm
I
honest.
still feel the same way.
Yeah, there were things.
And he doesn't have a distillery.
There's things that we did, that we built, that we, solved problems of, that I sometimes look back and go, how the heck did we ever do that? Well, because we just said, throw a problem and I was going to solve it. Sleep wasn't a real thing. I had an air mattress here. I slept, that was one of the first areas we finished this building was our office area, and just had it finished out primarily so that I could, spend some nights in the building and still catch a little bit of sleep. Because when we were building this distillery, I was living in Sublette on the farm. And so back and forth every day, every night, and was able to work a few more hours if I had an air mattress in a room with a heater and an air conditioner in it. So,
I feel like half of the distillery is held together with baling wire and duct tape.
Yeah.
If you're anything like every farmer I knew growing up.
I oftentimes will remind Lee, or there'd be a pair of vice grips on something to work as a handle, and I go, I kind of like that, because if anybody ever comes in here and goes, is this story crock of BS here, and you can just show them a picture of this pair of vice grips that your boss placed on here as a handle, and
they're still there.
And I said, I'm not going to fix it, because it works. And I think it's the point across of exactly who and what we are, because we can solve problems. Maybe it's not the absolute correct way, but is there a problem having a pair of vice grips that are stuck on there and it gives you some leverage as a handle? I don't think so. Is it
What's
perfect?
The adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, if it's working.
Exactly.
And it's broke, but you fixed it.
So
It's fixed.
But it works.
So, doing our research for episodes, right? I like to kind of dive deep into stuff, and I found, Hayes, that you had spent time studying abroad in Ireland.
I did a short study abroad trip. Yeah.
It planted the seed in my mind. Was your love for whiskey from the first years at school on campus, or from your time in Ireland?
I think it was previous to Ireland. I think that was a good chunk of why I needed to go to Ireland, was to express my love of Irish whiskey. So I drink my fair share of Powers in Ireland, that's for sure. We drink a lot of Powers.
So I have a question.
All right.
I want to know what the go-to bar is.
In Ireland?
No, in Kansas State.
Oh, at Kansas State. So I'm a different generation, Hayes. This is the problem, because the last couple times I've been on campus, I realized none of the bars we used to frequent are there, with the exception of one. Last time I was there, Annie Mae's still existed.
Annie Mae's.
Drinking, used to drink in the basement of Annie Mae's all the time.
Yes.
But yeah, Rusty's Last Chance was the big one.
Rusty's, yep, that doesn't exist anymore.
It's gone.
Yeah,
it's a much bougier. I went to school back when dorm rooms were cinder block walls, and you walked down the hallway to use the bathroom. Right now,
mine was the same way.
They've gotten soft on those kids since I left.
What dorm were you in?
I lived in Goodnow.
Me too. There you go.
There you go.
You all were in the same room, probably.
No, there's a lot of rooms in that room. They all look the same, though. They all look the same.
Yeah,
think prison cell. Yeah.
Yes. And now you see
the jail cell there.
Oh no. The jail cell they're currently sitting is much nicer than my dorm room, for sure.
A little better than good now, yeah.
Well, okay, so Lee, I kind of want to hear what got you into becoming tied to Boot Hill, right? Because I don't think you started necessarily as the distiller.
No.
Right, but that's the role you kind of find yourself in now. So I kind of want to hear your story of how you got to love whiskey or more importantly, love making whiskey. Or maybe we have Hayes step out and you tell us you don't love this shit at all.
The real story here,
yeah. He already knows I don't know anything.
It's the best kind of boss.
Set the bar low. That's what I always say.
That's right. It was a case of sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, and being in the right place at the right time. Or wrong. No, this is the right way. I was in the car business prior to being here. I worked in dealerships. I worked in service departments.
That explains the drinking.
Yes, and you were absolutely correct in that regard. Of running a dealership service department is to cause anybody to drink, and it was literally right time, right place. Was maybe looking for another opportunity, and a friend of mine, Hayes had hired right before we opened, had roped me into giving grand tours at our grand opening back in July of 2016. And actually, well, that's sort of the main story. I guess if I go back a little bit, there was an event here about a month or two before that I helped kind of bartend. It was a little fundraiser that we'd held before we ever opened for Big Brothers Big Sisters, and that's kind of about the first time I met Hayes and met his dad and some of the other folks that were here early on, and then I got roped into the grand tour or the grand opening and gave tours of this building, and I basically got a script that was 14 pages long the night before. And said, here, you need to learn this and be able to entertain people for the duration of the day the next day. And I went, oh shit, okay. So I learned the script and I read it and I didn't learn it. I didn't memorize it.
Kind of like our notes.
He already knew
reading
it.
off
That's
my
what
notes there. But I was kind of how I learned about the history. I mean, I knew of the building. I'm not a native of Dodge City, but I knew of the building. I knew some of the history. I knew plenty about drinking, but not anything about making whiskey. And it really kind of started from there. And, the story I kind of like to tell of kind of give you a perspective of where we started is that on that grand opening day, July 30th, 2016, we literally had nothing to sell but T-shirts and glassware. Everything that was distilled was from that point on. Kind of to Hayes' point earlier of, there was a lot of trial and error. And
we had an example of a whiskey. I wouldn't call it whiskey.
We had samples that we could give people. I mean, they had something distilled of a vodka and a whiskey-ish. that was to mollify the masses of people that were coming through this building that day, and so that was summer of 16, and kind of to the point we made a little earlier. The first bourbon really we didn't put away until early January of 17. So there was about 6 months there of time that passed. I'm kind of getting a little off track, but so I did my volunteer of duty that day and gave tours and learned the process. And then it was really about a year later. I always like to joke that Hayes didn't pay me for a year, but it was about a year later that he was looking for. We were getting close to distribution. We were getting close to taking product to market, and you got to have somebody on the road to do that. And I guess my name came up in conversation, and so I guess the rest is history at that point. So I was hired as the guy to go be on the road. But at that point, we were still making spirits at that point. Had not signed an agreement with the distributor yet. So my first 3 or 4 months working here was working in the still room. It was just nothing but making a mess and cleaning it up. It was cooking mash. It was moving grain from the mash tun to the fermenters, pitching yeast, trying to figure out how to run the stripping still, and learning how all that works. So it was literally on the job training. Was my first, like I said, 3-4 months of working here, and then in the meantime was starting to try to build out a plan to try to go out and talk about whiskey. And at that point, we signed the agreement with our distributor, and I went on the road for the next 7 years. And that's the short version.
Yeah, that's the life, right? Where somebody pays you to drink whiskey with them.
There you go.
That's what we're striving to be.
Yeah. So far, it's just costing us money. So far, we're paying to drink whiskey with people. But yeah.
So there was a question that I wanted to bring back up. So,
wait, are you saying they didn't answer it good enough for you?
No. It's to tack on to a previous question where we talked a bit about 2014 purchasing the building. Hayes graduated in 2015, 2016, really when the distillery launched or had its opening day. So, not to get anybody in trouble, but Hayes, did you distill before kind of launching this whole big thing? Because this is something that has always perplexed me, right?
It's an industry that they won't give you a license until you prove that you can do it, but you can't learn how to do it if you don't have it's a very much catch-22 industry. Or at least that's my feeling.
And it always I'm always intrigued in this because I wanted to start my own thing.
I'm telling you, you just got to start making moonshine in your bathroom.
Or figure it out. There you go. Thank you.
So I'd love to hear your story on that.
Go ahead. Yeah. So the first still I ever ran, you have to talk to my college roommates about it. So it's a pretty good story.
There it is.
We would have small gatherings of a few friends over at our houses from time to time in college, and invite as many people as we could find, and buy a couple of kegs of the cheapest beer we could get, and make a concoction called Jungle Juice. It was Everclear and whatever else was in your Jungle Juice with plenty of juice and things in it. And I've always been, I'm a pretty frugal guy. I like to reuse things. I like to figure out a way to, not waste more than anything. So I came up with this idea. I said, guys, what if we took all this wasted, there's beers sitting in, there's hundreds of cups of half full beer and half full Jungle Juice and whatever else everybody was drinking. And they left it. The next morning we're cleaning this up. I said, let's take this. We'll build a still and we'll just distill all this stuff back into ethanol. We'll feed it to everybody the next night back in our Jungle Juice, and we'll repeat this. It'll work fantastic.
That is agribusiness at its key right there.
Exactly. It's like
taking your waste and turning it into a profitable product. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not profit. I'm not trying to make any money off it. I just wanted to make sure we could continue to party on it.
Just didn't want to spend it.
But now you are.
Now you want it to be profitable. Yeah. All right. So I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about what we were tasting today before we move on to the second bottle. Normally Gavin and I take turns, but I'm presenting all the bottles tonight, which means Gavin has to give notes first. Having a good time talking, so I want to kind of keep the conversation moving. So kind of condense down your notes. Give us.
You telling me that I can't be windy about this?
Nose, palate, fin. Like what are you getting overall?
So on the nose, I think there's an earthy note to it. There's a bit of I wrote leather. Something that is not like brand new leather, but something that's been worn in a little bit. Maybe an old saddle.
I can get that.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's like the dusty old saddle that started to crack because it's been sitting in the barn for so long.
You're just not taking care of your saddles at that point.
No. Rode hard and put away wet.
There you go, folks.
I'm trying to think of all of the farming cliches to throw into this one.
So I did grow up on a farm, by the way. So you're in good company. But, a little farther south than where you're sitting.
The dirt's funny colored where you come from.
It's red. And then on the palate, I wrote frosted flakes.
Yep.
I think there's a cereal note to it, but it's also sweet.
I feel like you can't say frosted flakes because this is more like Wheaties than cornflakes.
I guess we could say that.
Yeah, come on.
Maybe brand.
Darn it.
This is why he's not in marketing.
Dang it. Missed an opportunity. And then I think there's like almost like a baking spice a little bit there.
Yeah, I think a lot of what I was picking up runs very similar. First couple times it knows the glass. One, sometimes we start with another pour beforehand. Weather today got us a little late getting started, whatever. And so this was the first sip I had today. And I'll be honest, on the nose, initially the 100 proof smelled hot, right? Even the first sip kind of tingled and burned. But as I kind of revisited the glass, that kind of mellowed back down, and I got that distinct grain notes. I'm an old school kid, right? Cheerios and grape nuts were two of my favorite cereals growing up. We were too poor for sugar cereal, right? No Frosted Flakes in our house as kids.
They're great.
But yeah, like I get some of that kind of classic cereal grains. I always almost reminds me of Crispex. Do you remember that was like wheat on one side and corn on the other? Like kind of like Chex. I get that kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
On the palate and on the finish, I got more of a toasted oak flavor. And the finish, you said baking spice, to me, cinnamon.
Okay.
Yeah. Like not the sweetness you get from Big Red Gum or Red Hots, but distinctly the spicy kind of tongue tingle that those have. I could get that kind of spice to the end of it. All right. Guys, did we do okay? Is that thumbs up? You agree? You're like, no, you guys must be drinking something else?
Yeah. It's kind of funny you mentioned the grape nuts because that's what I grew up eating as a kid. Grape nuts are not pleasant. I still eat them.
Oh, no. Sprinkled over the top of ice cream?
Yogurt?
Well, okay. From the perspective of, a 7 or 8 year old, that's
awful. I agree.
That, is trying to, get taken to school and you're trying to shovel your grape nuts down and just hating life.
No. Grape nuts is a slow eating breakfast.
It is.
Rush it or they'll break your teeth. No. I'm with you.
But this is exactly, grape nuts or bran, even raisin bran, because I'm getting a little dried fruit on the back end. So that raisin bran or just the flake itself is very prominent. So that's something I've always felt that our wheat whiskey has had is those real that cereal bran, and then yes, the baking spice, allspice, almost pie filling kind of on the back end.
Yeah, like almost apple pie spice, right? Not the apples.
Not the apples. No.
Like all of that shaker of seasonings that Mom put in on the apples.
So one of the things I like to always do is go back because I really enjoyed this. I mean, I sipped it all the way down to the very last sip.
I've kind of been wanting to save just
We're on our second one. What are y'all doing?
Well, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
But going back to it, when you said
you guys started at 8:30 in the morning though, like
fair,
you guys are
good point. Like the raisin bran almost kind of came into play going back and sniffing the glass.
No, I
didn't get that right off the bat. But
it's one of those things that my wife always laughs at me because I drink a whiskey and then the thing that keeps me from over consuming is the fact that I really, really enjoy the aroma of an empty glass, right? When you get to the end and all of the lighter compounds have started to dissipate and you're left with the heavier compounds in the glass, like all of a sudden, every 5 minutes, the glass has a completely different character. So yeah, you get down to the glass is essentially empty. Like it absolutely takes on a new style. All right, you got to give it a number.
All right.
This is the hard part. You're going to either make Lee and Hayes cry
I'm staring
or
them in the eyes right now. I really enjoyed this. I love weeded whiskeys. This to me,
he was going to cheat. He looked over.
I'm looking at the bottle. I'm looking at the beautiful bottle. I am a aesthetic looking kind of guy. Like I like the bottle. I like the twine, the whole packaging, the soil, the sip.
Got a picture of Hayes on the tag.
I mean,
it's great.
I mean, right there. I mean, that's great, right?
Yes.
I gave this one an 87. I think it is very delightful. It's something that I could sip every day. I have it. I'd love to have it on my shelf. Hint, hint.
No, see, they're like, we sent you a bottle already. How much
They
more
sent
do need?
you a bottle.
No, I have a bottle. Gavin doesn't have shit.
I like it. I like it. And I'd say good job, guys.
Yeah. So for me, I'm at an 84. I think if you're a wheat whiskey fan, right, I think this totally lines up. Those guys who are looking for more of that rye heavy kind of thing and that corn sweetness, this obviously doesn't have that. I think this is a fun anomaly to have in your collection too. I don't have any other 100% wheats, right? So when somebody comes over and says, "Well, I like wheated bourbon," I was like, "Oh, this would be a fun thing to kind of push your palate and kind of help you explore your own journey of whiskeys by stepping to this one." Excellent, well done, guys, well done. I'm assuming you guys both give it 99. Make a rule, no 100s.
99.5, yeah.
Oh,
Have you?
Point.
What are other wheat whiskeys? If we can dive into them just a second. What other wheat whiskeys that you guys have had? Because that's the thing. There's not many out there. There's a few, but
It's an underserved category of whiskey.
yeah. So I think obviously classic one that everybody knows, Maker's Mark and Weller, right? Those are two really
I'm saying
Not wheated bourbon.
Like-
I'm talking
Oh,
wheat
Oh,
whiskey.
wheated whiskeys. I don't know of any others.
Bernheim is the main one.
That's the part that I love about this is that you
Right.
get people who come in and say, "Hey, like I like wheated bourbon," and they're
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, let's see how far down that wheat rabbit hole you want to go."
Because this is as wheat as wheat can get.
You don't get any more weeded than 100%.
This is 100%.
All right, excellent, done, guys. All right. We're going to take just a break for just a second. We're going to talk about a giveaway thanks to the guys over here at a Boot Hill Distillery. So we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Enter for your chance to win this bottle of Kansas-made bourbon from Boot Hill Distillery.
Follow both the Noble Dram and Boot Hill Distillery. Like and share this post. Comment with the boot emoji and the phrase "soil to sip." And lastly, tag 4 of your whiskey-loving friends.
You have just 1 week to enter, so don't miss your chance to win this hard-to-find whiskey and find out what Soil to Sip is all about.
Welcome back, everyone. We really hope that you enjoyed our little commercial on the giveaway. Hint, hint. This bottle right here. Thanks to the boys on camera. So I am actually empty, and I need another pour.
You do. All right, boys, we're taking a shift, and we're leaving the standard Boot Hill product offering and into a university collaboration. Hayes and I are alums, right? I shouldn't say it. Lee, I don't know where you went to school, so I don't know if you're an alum as well. You knew the bars. You knew the bars, and that's close enough in my book. All right,
a little bit of time in Manhattan.
Yeah, this next one, we're trying the Wabash Reserve 1863 edition bourbon. So now this one comes in at 90 proof, 45% ABV for those doing the math, and is a 6-year aged 3-grain mash bill. But this is where I'm going to turn to the boys that are joining us to ask for some clarification as to which 3 grains found their way into this bottle. And then we can talk a little bit about why it's called 1863. But let's start with the grains in the glass.
You ready for it?
I don't know if I remember.
Or is it a secret? It wasn't spelled out on the website, so it might be a secret. And they're like, well, it's these two.
Yeah.
Plus
No,
one.
it's corn, wheat, and barley. And it's unmalted barley.
That's right.
Really
Unmalted.
barley.
All right.
Yes.
fun.
Have we had an unmalted barley on?
Yes. So some of the Irish stuff we've tasted before has
Okay,
used
right,
both
right,
malted and unmalted.
Right.
So
Okay.
yes.
Yep.
Is
Okay.
this a tip of the cap to the Irish roots with the unmalted barley?
I don't know. We've played with unmalted barley a handful of times. We actually have an experimental sitting ready to be bottled of a
6-year-old unmalted barley.
6-year-old 100% unmalted barley, which is it's interesting.
It's very cool.
We've just kind of been dabbling with it here and there and finding out what we like and don't like about it, and it makes its way into a couple of blends here and there for different bottlings.
You didn't grow very much of it, though, did you?
Didn't grow a lot of it, yeah. So that's the fun thing about our distillery, or the less fun thing if you're me. If we want to make an unmalted barley or a rye whiskey or something, for example, it's a long process. We don't just call up and say, "Hey, deliver us a truckload of barley or rye." I've got to figure out what's going to grow, plant it, source the seed, plant it, harvest it, figure out how the heck to grow it. Store it.
Yeah. You have taken a production process that takes years already and have added years to the front end of it.
Advantage to it. Yeah. And a little bit of complication.
You didn't have anything better to do.
Yeah.
Just sit around doing nothing.
Exactly.
All right. So for those who aren't familiar with this, 1863 is the year in which Kansas State was founded. This is where I get to be the history professor, right? Because I actually know a little bit of Kansas State history. All right, I'm done. That's all I knew. No. So we were the very first land grant college established in 1863, not actually called Kansas State at the time. It was Bluemont College.
Bluemont.
And then eventually transitioned over. We used to be the Kansas State Aggies back in the day. So every time somebody down here talks about the Aggies, I was like, yeah, you're a little late to that game, boys. Yeah. Sorry. I've been trying really hard to hold that in. All right. So we talked a lot about kind of like how you guys went from either a college student or a town that hasn't had a distillery in years to now producing. I kind of want to talk about where Boot Hill Distillery is now. So let's start with this. We're in Texas, and I actually started the show talking about how hard it was to track down bottles of anyone who distills in Kansas, right? You guys or any others. Where can people find bottles of your whiskey?
Well, that leads into a conversation of how alcohol is distributed, and it's state by state, and there are reasons that you can't get certain producers in certain states is because of the 3-tier system that alcohol is sold under, which was implemented after Prohibition was repealed in 1933, excuse me. So distribution is on a state-by-state basis. And so, if you're a big national brand that has a shit ton of money, you can pretty well go anywhere. When you're a regional brand, you're really kind of, and I think one thing that maybe we've kind of had to learn is that you've got to win your own backyard first. You've got to, when you're starting a brand, you've got to win the hometown over and really build the brand within the state. Because the further you go out from your state, the less people care about where you're from. And we're proud of that. I mean, we think Dodge City is pretty cool. We think our story is pretty cool. We think our whiskey is pretty good. But the further you go out from our region, it's sometimes a tougher sell. But you also got, hundreds, if not thousands of other products that you're up against. I say this to say that you're really only going to find our product in about 4 or 5 states. And in earnest, you're really only going to find it all over the place in Kansas. The reason we're not in Texas is because Texas distribution is a nightmare. Texas, you think about it, there's more people in the DFW area. You're right. If there's more people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area than there are living in Kansas, and how are you going to reach those people? How much money do you have to spend to reach those people? And so, sure, you might gain distribution. You might have a distributor that says, oh, yeah, sure, I'll take your brand on. But that doesn't guarantee that your product's going to get sold into a retail situation. That doesn't mean that the bartenders at your local establishment, unless they know about you or they know us or we're out there actively selling it, that they're going to bring that product in, because they've got thousands of other things to choose from, and reps and brands that are in front of their face all the time and that are providing all sorts of benefits to serve their brand. So this is a long-winded answer, I realize, but you're going to find us locally. You're going to find us in Kansas. We do have Oklahoma distribution. It's not very wide. We do have some Missouri distribution. It's not very wide. We have Tennessee, I think, and we've dabbled in other states. We had a distributor in Texas, and it was an absolute shit show.
Two times.
We had two distributors. We had two distributors in Texas, and they didn't do shit. And unless Hayes somehow found a whole potload of money that we were going to go down there and spend and sell whiskey, we weren't going to get any placements. And that's part of the game that I don't think your average whiskey drinker or spirits drinker really kind of gets. I'm kind of getting on my soapbox a little bit about this because it's frustrating.
All right, preach it.
We said preach. We meant it.
Let it all out. Tell us.
It takes so much, and that's why it's cool to connect with you guys. Is that your audience is kind of built in interested in the stories, in the people that are behind the brands. How many times do you unless you go to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail or you go to say TX Distilling that was in Fort Worth, or Balcones in Waco, or Garrison Brothers in High, Texas. How are you going to know about those brands? Still Austin, I guess, another one that's kind of gained some traction there in Texas in a while recently. So otherwise,
there is online.
And then online. Otherwise, you got online distribution. But even that has its complications because you're paying for shipping. Not every state allows alcohol to be shipped in the state. Kansas is one of them. We can't even ship our own booze to people within our own state because Kansas doesn't allow that. There are a handful of other states that don't allow alcohol to be shipped into their state. And so even the online shipping is a crapshoot. And sometimes we just have to, customer says, well, hey, I want to get my bottle sent to such and such state, and I'm going, well, if the state doesn't allow it, our third party retailer will not ship it to you. And sorry, there's nothing we can do about that. So
you have to
path
get a
to
PO
market
box across the state line.
Yeah.
Right. So path to market.
I didn't say that out loud. If you're with the TABC, I didn't say that. Okay.
So we like to break rules.
So the best chance of anyone across the country, first start looking online.
Correct.
Yeah.
Unless you happen to
be
be in the area. What I'll say is, if you want to make a pilgrimage out to the distillery, give me a holler. I'm sure my folks would let you crash on the couch. They're not too far up the road. I'm just imagining my mom calling me like, "What the hell did you just say?"
And then she'll open them with open arms.
So one of the things that I think you guys kind of touched on a little bit when you were talking about opening day or the grand opening. One of the struggles, lots of little distilleries that start up face is whiskey takes so damn long to get ready for a glass that you got to find something to sell in the interim. We're also finding Texas just recently changed the law, but a lot of distilleries were running into the problem of they'd love to sell drinks, cocktails and otherwise at the distillery's tasting room. But the Texas law said you couldn't serve any alcohol you didn't make. So you guys, although the show is not geared around other spirits, you guys do provide or offer a number of other products. Just so everybody can get an understanding of what all you guys do, give a quick rundown of what some of those other things are.
Yeah, so we make the very first product we released was vodka, and we still make vodka. It's 100% wheat vodka, same mash bill as our 100% whiskey. Actually treated a little bit differently, but exact same stuff. Gin, we make a gin with sarsaparilla is our kind of main different
I like
different botanical to replace it.
Sarsaparilla.
Sarsaparilla, that's right. Had to be Dodge City. We make anything and everything we can with grain, to tell you the truth, because we don't make rum because we can't grow sugarcane. We don't make tequila, obviously, because we're not in Mexico. We can't grow agave. Anything that we can figure out how to make, we do. The other big thing that we make is we do canned cocktails. So we have our vodka basil lemonade, our rosemary mule, we have a whiskey cola, we have a handful of different beyond that seasonal cocktails that we do in cans. We got into that during COVID, and we sell a lot of those cans. That's a good chunk of our business now too, because the market is going towards what's easy, what can I get in my hand right away, and we've found that there's a lot of really bad canned cocktails out there, and I like to think we do a pretty damn good job of making ours taste. They're all made from cocktails that we originally made in our tasting room. And we just figured out how to make them in 7,000 can batches at a time instead of one at a time. So that is something you're talking about, the tasting rooms and what other people, not to go too far into this, but we never planned to have a tasting room. We never thought we would. And we actually legally couldn't. Because we had the micro distillery, Kansas laws allowed us to, but our local, our county law said that you had to sell 15% of your gross receipts in food. And I never wanted to have a restaurant, that's for sure. So we couldn't be an actual tasting room. We realized at some point, why don't we just try to change the law? So we made up some yard signs and started kind of lobbying for people to vote to change the law to get rid of that 15% food requirement. And then next thing we know, we got the law changed and we opened a tasting room. And Kansas law is actually pretty good on that fact. We can serve whatever we want in our tasting room. It's actually licensed as a full drinking establishment with the state. And so we can buy other spirits, but it's kind of a challenge for us. How can we make things out of our own stuff? How can we buy the least amount of other things? Not that we can, but it's cheating. It's how can we make something that is like some other cocktail you had, but the one thing we can't, vermouth, and we have to buy vermouth. We absolutely have to. But everything else, we can typically make a syrup that can do something similar. We can use different juices. We do our best to utilize all of our own products. And we have again, this is outside of this show, but our tasting room is, if you're a cocktail person, we not to toot our own horn too much, but we do a pretty damn good job of making cocktails. I love cocktails. I love going to big cities and drinking fancy cocktails that somebody made. And so it's kind of been our thing to bring that to Dodge City and give you cocktails that have some care to them. Everything is very specific and precise. And it's been a lot of fun in the beginning, I think we kind of pretentiously said we're going to teach Dodge City how to drink. And I think we've kind of done that, and it's been fun to see Dodge City come around to. I remember early on there were people going, wow, you're going to make an old fashioned like this, 3 ounces of whiskey and a sugar cube and bitters. That's what you're going to have in your old fashioned. Now people go, wow, that's how an old fashioned is supposed to be. It's
set the standard.
We kind of set the standard for how an old fashioned tastes, which is a classic old fashioned.
So I want to touch on something. We talk often about the science, or what I like to say is the art of making whiskey, because sometimes there is a preciseness to it, but then there's the experimental side of it, which I think you just were mentioning kind of some of those experimental ventures that y'all went on. Can you talk a bit about that process? Like what goes through your head whenever you're maybe trying to find a new product? Is it by accident, or is it like, or even talk about kind of your day, like how that happens?
Which one of you is the mad scientist? Right.
Well, I would say it's typically maybe my direction, my Lee's idea, my implementation, and then Lee's got to come up. This guy has a better palate than like probably anybody that I know, and yeah, when he tries something, if Lee says this is good, it's good. I mean, that's the biggest thing that's so awesome about him making whiskey is that if it comes off the still and if he's tried it and he thinks it's good, I don't worry about it anymore. So, I'm kind of I'm a problem solver. And so I go, hey, Lee's got this wild idea. Hey, can we try and do this? I go, well, no, that's out of our realm of what we could do. Or yeah, here's kind of how, and I think I can kind of give some direction on how that goes. A lot of the things though, like we were talking very early on is, these experiments have to happen. Yeah, they happen now, and then we kind of have to forget about them for years, the way that our process works. And so sometimes it is that deal of, well, here's what we have. And Lee says, well, these are the only grains that I have to distill from. And I go, well, I'm not bringing a truck of grain back up because we're busy with XYZ on the farm. So figure out how to make some weird whiskey. And we'll see if it tastes good. And so there's some of those that are just, product of necessity.
It's the duct tape and Windex.
Exactly.
Right.
So take that same line of question and go back to the whiskey we're sipping. A collaboration, I don't know, maybe collaboration isn't the right word, but one that you do in partnership with a separate entity, like in this case, the university. How much of what goes into that glass was decided by you guys versus decided by them? Is there creative collaboration on this? Or is this just here's the whiskey we got, and they're like, yeah, we'd love you guys to do a whiskey. Is it more business than art?
So it's a couple different. It's primarily business, to tell you the truth. Some of our partnerships, we have a handful of different licensing agreements with other universities, other entities, and some of those groups say, yeah, we want to be a part of what goes in the model. Typically, I say, look, you're good at running a university. We're pretty good at making whiskey. Let us make these decisions. We'll do the best we can for you. We've done it where we've given them some options and said, hey, let's take these to some of your, some donors or something that you'd like to, and do some event. We did that with K-State. We've done that with other universities. Wichita State, yeah, and we allowed them to
I'm picturing a room full of history and literature professors with their sport coats with the elbow patches. I don't know if that's exactly how it happens.
Athletic directors.
Yeah. So
the money makers. The money makers are deciding. I get it.
Money makers, of course, yes. So the biggest thing with K-State, is a partnership we started, in 2021, I think was our first year of it. Yeah. And we'd been kind of trying for a couple of years back and forth, and finally just got in front of the right people, and we made an agreement. And honestly, we were the first. I mean, we were technically the second, I guess. There was New Mexico State University that did one. But ours, I mean, it was huge. Our first Wabash Reserve we released, we were like bottling around the clock, trying to keep up with it. It was insane. And then we've carried that out for years past. This is our most recent release. We'll see if maybe there's one coming this year or not. I'm not 100% certain what our plan is, to tell you the truth. But it's been a cool deal, and we've done it with a handful of different universities around the state, and it's neat to see alumni of each university, just their pride for having a bottle of whiskey that is theirs, just similar to yours. I think that was
it will absolutely set any place of prominence on the shelf here for sure, right?
I hope you got season tickets out of the deal.
Oh,
Yeah.
This feels like sweets. I'll be honest, like a nice.
It should be.
You shouldn't have to sit out in the weather if you make the whiskey.
Yeah. Well, I did have, we didn't have sweet, but I had a worker pass there for a few years. Just as good. It allowed me to get into any suite I wanted to, as long as I was working. And so I was working often.
You just carried around a bottle of bourbon with you,
and you wore your
in the middle of something. Got a clipboard and a hard hat. Yeah.
So that was kind of neat to get to see the ins and outs of K-State.
So when I was on campus, you couldn't drink at all at the football stadium, and I know now they've got. If you pay enough, they'll let you have whiskey, right?
Yes.
Is Boot Hill Distillery whiskey served at the stadium, or is it something that people have to go buy online or at a retailer?
It was up until there's two different agreements. One we had
until the incident.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the incident.
So there's two different. I've learned a lot about the intricacies of universities, and so basically there's a sports marketing group, and then there's your licensing entity, and we continue our licensing agreement, and that's how we're able to sell these. A percentage, 16% of every bottle goes straight back to the university, and then on top of that, we had like an advertising agreement basically, and that allowed it to be advertised around. What's that?
They need that 16% to buy new elbow patches.
We got to buy new elbow patches. Yeah. Plus a little bit more, to make it all work. But it was served. There's a few spots it's still available. I think it's still available, like in the suite levels. You can order it, but it's not necessarily at all the bars anymore. So you can get it. The Fridge Liquor Store, Classic Wine and Spirits, Nespers.
All the major liquor
stores
in Manhattan, for sure.
Everybody has it, and they've got it up for sale.
I've frequented several of those.
Yeah. And there's another, when you're in Manhattan, there's a place called Bourbon and Baker that they've been a great, that is an awesome place. They have
down on Points.
Yep.
Probably the number one whiskey bar in Kansas.
Yeah, great.
One or two whiskey bars in Kansas.
Great whiskey selection, and good friends of ours.
You're ranking them in quality, not alphabetical order.
Correct.
You say number one. Okay, got it. Makes sense. Well, bourbon, it's a beer, right? It's early. So let's talk just a second about where you guys see Boot Hill going from here, right? One of the things that continues to be a conversation amongst both whiskey drinkers and whiskey producers is a level of uncertainty, unease in the market. I'm curious. We've had conversations with massive distilleries that if they had to mothball and shut down for a year or two and then come back, they could absolutely do that and still be fine. I'm curious for a smaller producer that I assume steady business is far more critical to the bottom line. How do you guys see the future of the whiskey industry? Because you're small enough, I'm assuming you're still growing in market share.
Yeah,
especially to your comment about owning your own backyard, so to speak.
Exactly. No, that's kind of what gives us some positive outlook on what's going on. We've seen, the whiskey world's it's taken a hit. But our thing is that there's a lot more people out there that have never heard of us than there are people that have heard of us and decided to stop buying us because they're trading down or they're buying something cheaper. That's what's happening with these bigger brands for sure, is that they're trading down to these lower price items. There's a lot of people, there's your listeners, there's people out there that, guess what? They're still interested in new fun whiskeys. And so that's where there's a lot of opportunity for us, is that we're still trying to get our name out there. We're 10 years in this business, but we've just barely scratched the surface. Our production is so small that, we have not overproduced by any means. Every single year we've said, man, I wish we would have made more whiskey that year. Not that we're growing astronomically by any means. I mean, we're clawing and scratching for every bit of growth that we have, but The one thing the past couple of years have taught us is to focus, look at what we're doing, think about, be a little bit more conscious of what's working, what do we do really well, and try and hammer into that. What do we want to do? And that's bourbon. That's what we originally set out to do was make good bourbon. And we'll keep doing it. Lee's going to keep making good bourbon, and we'll keep doing our best to sell it. And if not, I think in a couple of years, people will absolutely be, the older our bourbon gets, the more excited we get about it anyways. So,
well, I think too, one of the things that is a bit lost in all of this, the bubble is bursting, sky is falling kind of hysteria, is you look at how much whiskey was consumed in the late 80s and early 90s to how high it came up. Even if it comes back down, we are still a far cry from where it was when it was really at its bottom. I know I was talking to a buddy who's big into cigars, and he said the same kind of thing happened in the cigar industry. It's like it boomed like crazy, and that bubble burst. But when it burst, it didn't go back to where it was. It was still noticeably bigger market. It just wasn't as big as it had gotten. It had just overshot a little bit. So I assume there's a bit of just kind of self-correction that the market is taking with regards to secondary prices on bottles and people chasing stuff and overpriced items. Yeah, I have a significant collection, right? So as one who has purchased a lot of whiskey.
Not collection, selection.
Selection. No, that's a valid point. No, these are here to drink, not to look at. It's not a museum. It's a den, right? But no, it's this. I kind of always prided myself on not chasing the overpriced, trying to find that hidden gem that was absolutely worth the dollar you were spending on it. I don't know as if bourbon ever gets back down to the prices it used to be, but we're getting better bourbon than we were ever getting back then, right? Like there is value for what you're paying for, right? Which I think sometimes gets forgotten in that equation.
Yeah, here's a hot take. Hot take.
Let's get this down.
Get the pins out. So you talked about like bourbon in the 80s and kind of in the 90s. How the world runs today, we are so technology focused. Everything is a here and now kind of thing. That I feel like here's my prediction, and I've not said this out loud before. I think even on a bust or a downturn, because the world moves so fast, the cyclical nature of the whiskey industry, even if we had a bust that went totally bust, the time it took to come back to where we were pre-COVID and into COVID, I think will be faster than it ever was before. Meaning, even if we, yes, there are distilleries that are ramping or going down in production, right?
Yep.
The time it took previously was years.
Yeah.
And then I mean like years, where even if the whiskey industry continues to go down on its bust, it may only take it a couple of years to come back, just how fast everything moves.
I'll say,
if that makes sense.
I know the market creates a little bit of volatility and probably a little bit of heartburn for a producer. But as a consumer, this is awesome. Right. Because all of the things that I have been unable to get a hold of previously, whether it was allocation kind of stuff or just sheer price, had gotten to the point where I can't justify spending that much money for that. Those things are coming back into a reasonable place. And on top of that, the boom has created a large number of, I don't like to label the word craft. They're smaller distilleries that are focused more on quality production than necessarily quantity production. And that means that not only is the good stuff from the big guys becoming more available and more cost friendly, there's a lot of other options which ultimately help keep the price from racing back up. Yeah, it's a fun time to get into whiskeys right now. It saddens me a bit because I've got bottles that, like, you never know when you're going to get to see another one of those, so you go ahead and get a second one. And now I'm looking around like, hell, you can buy them everywhere. Okay, if I had just waited, I wouldn't have had to worry about where am I going to keep all of this stuff.
I think one of our sort of realizations or decisions several years ago was we can't make enough whiskey at this point. We need to make more whiskey. Not having enough whiskey is a problem. And so we need to make as much as we absolutely can while we can, and figure out a way to be as efficient as we can to make more. Because while the big producers are probably ramping, production down because they just produce so many thousands of proof gallons per day, we're on the opposite trajectory of that. Because if you think about, well, the thing that's wild to me, especially when I took over the distilling side, is that all the whiskey that I'm making, we're not going to get to drink for years. Yep. So we need to come around in about 4 or 5 years and have this same conversation, and then you'll probably be drinking my whiskey. But until that point, we're not, that it's a wild concept to wrap my head around. Of everything that I've been doing gets put in barrels and it goes away. And certainly we think about it, but it's not something that we look for that's going to get put in a bottle for a long time.
Yeah, you're not producing for today's market. No. You're producing for a market in 4 to 6 years.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. And it's much tougher to look into the crystal ball and see what that world looks like.
We have no idea what it's going to look like. But we know if you don't have it, then you're not going to have anything.
No, so the question 100%. I have is when you talk about production capacity and can't make enough in a distillery that is both the grower and the producer and ultimately the financier to handle both ends of that, how much of your limitation is grain production, farming? How much of that is the distillery can only do so many batches at a time versus there's only so much capital to lay out in an aging barn for years, right? Like which of those is the limiter?
It's probably the last two.
Yeah. The biggest one, money's huge, but the biggest, and I guess money could buy us a bigger distillery or bigger equipment. We run our distillery at a max. We could add more shifts. But as far as, we run 1 shift a day, 5 days a week. If we could add 3 shifts on. We'd need a little bit of capital investment in that. But I'd pretty quickly run out of money in barrels. Barrels aren't cheap. We just tomorrow we're getting a semi-load of barrels in, and we're going to fill every one of them tomorrow, the next day. And
75, 80 barrels tomorrow.
And we do that. And that's most of my money. So it's all sitting there. I tell people I've got a shed full of my entire net worth. It's sitting in barrels of whiskey inside of a metal building that's unmarked. And
so here's a question.
It's a retirement plan. I'm just saying.
Here's a question.
That's all I'm saying.
Because we've talked about distilleries that they've lost. Like we talked about Heaven Hill. Right.
Oh, don't be putting bad juju.
No, I'm not trying to put bad juju.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I'm not putting bad juju. I'm just saying as
this is the Oklahoma kid coming out in him.
Yeah. It's the risk. It's going back to the risk question that I first asked. It's like you put barrels that has all of your money in it, essentially, and then you let it sit there for years, right? And I can only imagine.
You put money in the bank, though, don't you? You give it to somebody else and hope that in several years you'll pull it out and it'll be worth more.
Fair, good point.
Yeah,
but
I trust whiskey more than I do those bankers.
It's much more tasty too. The anxiety that I would have to put barrels in an unmarked warehouse that.
Here's what I'll say: the saving grace. And I'm an outsider, right? I've never worked in a distillery, never owned a distillery. the saving grace is no matter how bad the economy becomes, if you lose all your money, you can still drink the whiskey to feel better.
There you go.
Okay? You still got plenty of whiskey to drink.
There you go. I didn't have much anxiety until you guys started reminding me of all these problems.
Jeez.
Hold up. I need you to clarify, Hayes. I didn't say shit about that. That was all Gavin.
That's fair. He's really making me dive deep into my field here.
Let's see what Debbie happens. Downer over here.
The ginger in the corner over here.
All right. So should we talk whiskey?
Let's talk.
Let's get back to something fun.
I'm out
because I'm really, really enjoying this bottle.
This is going back to the well twice.
You said there's been multiple Wabash Reserve releases. This is release number 3?
4.
4? Okay. 4. Release number 4. It's fun to ask a question. Of the 4, which one is your personal favorites?
It's either this one or the one right. So the one previous to this was it was finished in rum cask. We've got some 4 square rum casks and finished. It was pretty awesome because of those rum barrels, giving it some sweetness. But this thing, I don't want to put words in your guys' mouth, but it's this is my favorite that is available now because the Doom is gone. There's no more existence of the Wabash Doom. I think there's a couple bottles in my office.
Yeah. All right. Well, time to tell us what you get, Gavin.
So one thing
we haven't had the Doom, so we're just gonna have to drink this second-rate bourbon.
It's fantastic, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys will rate it. We'll see. See how much more you can drag me down, Gavin.
Wait till he gives you a 60.
He wasn't going to say that until you said that.
He's going to give you a 62. I can see it coming, Gavin. You're such a what a jerk.
What a jerk. This is not my alumni.
That's true.
I'm not
This is the Okie State in him showing up right here.
That's right. Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to leave into
this podcast is over.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to leave us a 1 star.
Yelp review, you guys.
Yeah, everyone else.
Are we on Yelp? This is a good question. I don't even know if we're on Yelp. You're going to start a Yelp account for us just to give us a 0 stars.
For podcasts and YouTube channels. This one.
That's awesome.
We're going to trademark that?
No, go. Go.
So there's a few things I wrote down. Don't hate me for this. I put cheesecake on the nose. I think there's a cheesecake note.
I think you're so close. So often you say something, I'm like, damn, Gavin, you were so close. You said Frosted Flakes, and I was like, no, I think what you mean is Wheaties.
Uh-huh.
You said cheesecake. The problem is, I think what you meant is the fruit that goes on top of the cheesecake. That's the key. If this was just plain cheesecake, wouldn't agree with you at all. But the fruit compote that goes on top of the cheesecake with that kind of rich, creamy goodness of cheesecake, now I completely agree with you.
I don't get that at all.
He's wrong. He's wrong.
I think there's a cheesecake note. I also put there's an earthy, almost like sawdust or like a barn note to it on the nose. And then it turns to sweetness. And so I think that cheesecake note follows into the palate.
Yep.
I think that there is the cheesecake or the graham cracker crust with the whole cheesecake. I mean, the whole thing kind of follows through.
I just wrote down graham cracker on the nose. When you said cheesecake, it got me thinking about what that cheesecake, and like that's graham cracker. It's that strawberry, raspberry, cherry, whatever goo they pour across the top. Yeah.
Drizzle.
I couldn't agree with you. Like there is a smoothness that shows up on the palate. Like sometimes you take a sip and it's a little harsh. I know this is slightly lower proof, right? We went from 100 to 90. It's also the second pour, which helps. But what I'll say is where I think the first one drank a little hotter than the 100 proof, this one actually drinks a little softer than the 90 proof would suggest. That this one feels like it could get me in trouble because it doesn't feel like it quite has as much heat.
Hold on now. Don't you be ragging on that.
No, it's not a bad thing. I like getting in trouble. Just ask my wife; she'd agree.
Yeah, just fair. I on the palate, I thought that it sipped hotter than the 90 proof.
Really?
But then on the finish, I think it went down, and although it was warm, I do think that the proof made it last a little shorter. But
Wait,
then
you think the finish on the 1863 was shorter than the finish on the straight wheat?
yes. And then, but on the palate, I think it was more viscous. I think there was a more syrupy kind of palate on that.
To correlate them to beers, right? Because it's when I'm not a wine drinker, right? My wife talks about dry and fruity and stuff. The straight wheat had a bit more of that IPA tartness to the palate, right? That kind of dries your mouth out. This has a little bit more of like a porter or a stout, that kind of creaminess that carries through. I agree with you on that. Right. On the finish, to me, I got a lot more of like this, I'll say soft sweetness. Sometimes when you say sweet, you mean fruit, right? I got fruit on the nose. I got more caramel sweetness on the finish. But there's a sharpness to it still, though. Almost like you said cheesecake. I already had this written down. I almost put like black coffee kind of bitterness, which to me, cheesecake and black coffee just go so beautifully together. You get this creamy dessert and this kind of sharp, dry sip. So yeah, to me, the finish almost kind of has like, I'm not a coffee drinker, but like if you put caramel into coffee, right, you still end up with that kind of like that sharp bitterness of the coffee, but that kind of sweet, creamy sweetness of the caramel. So yeah.
All right.
You got a number? Oh shit! I got.
So I know this is your bottle.
They're all my bottles.
They're all your bottles.
Well, except for the middle one, because that's for one lucky listener.
Yeah, that's right. Look at that little plug. So I would like to ask you what your number is.
Oh,
first.
we're switching it. We're switching. Okay, so to me,
I'm going to hide my number over here.
I really like the creamy sweetness that comes from this. I like the fruitiness to me. This one actually goes up just a bit. I'm at an 87. I think this is an excellent bourbon. It pushes back towards that heart of why you drink bourbons to begin with, right? It's the creamy caramel, it's the vanilla, it's all of that stuff. I like the 6 years in it. One of the problems we tend to have here in Texas, right, guys, is that 6 years is way too long to age in Texas. By the time you get to 6 years, you might as well just chew on charcoal, because that's all I can taste. So I like the fact that it's not Kentucky style, right? It's distinctly different than what you get in Kentucky. That malted or that unmalted barley, I think actually carries through with a little of the cereal note. Yeah, I think that's, again, one of the reasons I liked this one on the shelf was that it is distinctly different than others in that category. I think that's exactly why I like that bourbon too.
All right.
87 for me.
87 for you. I put this one at an 86. And this one,
I win.
This one squeaked out for me because I am more of a wheater. I love wheated whiskeys. This is probably the first 100% wheat that I ever had. So this one, the 1863, I thought was absolutely wonderful. To me, I think the 90 proof was just...
You wanted to have a little more kick,
I wanted a little more. Just a little more. Just a little more.
And that would have been 1 point difference. Yeah. 91 proof. You'd have had it. You'd have had it. You'd have had it.
But what I absolutely love about this is I love cheesecake.
Oh my.
I'm a cheesecake fiend. So this one giving me that cheesecake note really just revved my engine. Or saddled my horses or
I'll say going back to the wheated after having had the bourbon and come back to it, there is a distinct like oakiness to it.
I was gonna say like hay.
There's a I mean it on the nose it's clearly more youthful.
Where are we going?
I think we gotta go here next
Oh, we're going there.
because they haven't done this.
You guys can drink whatever you want.
Bring out the bottles that no one can get.
Yeah, no.
Just 7 year. Yeah.
Just flex. Bring out the doom. Bring out the doom and just start.
Yeah.
He's like, I got it.
You've got to get whiskey for us to drink. Yeah.
No, the straight wheat has this sharperness that I don't know if I'd fully picked up on the first time through. Now that you have the sweeter, softer bourbon. All right, Hayes. I understand there's a bit of like, how do you pick which one of your kids you love the most? But when you come in the morning, you're taking your 8:30 a.m. pour. Is it a standard offering, or are you going straight to tasting what's going on in the rick house and experimental stuff? I mean, when you kind of reset palate in the morning when you start, where do you go?
Well, yeah, it's whatever's sitting on my desk to give approval on primarily. So we're always tasting two different things at once. And it's typically the last batch against the next batch. So past couple weeks, it's been vodka. I've been drinking a lot of vodka at 8:30 in the morning which is
vodka is a morning beverage.
It's a rough life you live.
Just delicious. Yes. Yeah, it gets you started.
What was the old quote? Clear liquors are for sick people and rich women.
There you go.
Those are the two people that are supposed to drink clear liquors.
I haven't been feeling that well, and I'm not a rich woman, but I guess I'm a sick person.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So as a farmer and a distiller and owning a distillery, how do you split your time? Do you split your time equally? Are you on the farm, half the time? What does that look like for you?
I typically explain this as I go to where the fire is. So, if it's the middle of
farm burned down, so
if it's the middle of harvest, I'm on the farm. I'm running a combine. I'm making sure things are cruising along. If it's typically O&D time is just busy all over because we're selling a ton of whiskey and trying to make all those things work and bottling, and then we're also doing corn harvest. I typically, what I say, which makes more sense if you know here, I live on Highway 56, which is the highway between Dodge City and Sublette, where my farm is. That's where I spend most of my time, to tell you the truth, is back and forth. But so it just depends. I try and get as much. Sadly, a lot of my time is spent in my office, and I'd much rather be out working on something, be on a tractor, or be downstairs solving some problem, but instead I'm sitting back there answering emails and figuring out what the next situation is, trying to figure out if I've got enough Ronda regular bourbon.
Text messages from the Noble Dram.
Yeah, no, I will say he does tend to answer pretty quickly. I picture you get up in the morning, take like 2 laps around the outside of the field with the combine, and then it's noon, so you head on into the office and get to work. The idea that you farm as when you're not at work also sounds ridiculous. Or the idea that you make whiskey when you're not at work also sounds ridiculous, right? I'm not sure which is a more apropos description. So I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Let's bring the episode to an end. We can sit and drink all night long, right? If you guys got nowhere to be, I got nowhere to be. I am 22 feet from the bed, so we're fine. So let's say goodnight to everybody at home. Gavin, take us away.
Appreciate everybody for joining us tonight on the Noble Dram. This wonderful episode with Boot Hill Distillery with Hayes and Lee. Cheers.
And Solange Val.
Oh, should we do that?
We want to thank you, our noble listener, for joining us.
We believe each whiskey has a story, and so do you. So give us your thoughts by leaving a comment.
And if you have a whiskey you'd like to see us share, let us know.
You don't want to miss a single episode, so subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And make sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to stay up to date on the Noble Dram.
And if you find watching us difficult, you can always listen to each episode on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
As always, be noble
and enjoy your dram responsibly.